That's Skype and not Skype. So there's a non-existent pre-show that no one will ever hear.
And YouTube doesn't start streaming it until we hit record.
Oh, so are we streaming right now?
We are. We are on YouTube.
Cool. We so there's an audience listening now. This isn't our podcast yet. We haven't started that, but what's funny is John and I hopped on here. We got a new system that we love that we're using. The system we were using prior starts recording right away, so we decided let's start putting that on the pre-show, like a pre-show. And so we're talking like normal, but we also know like, okay, this will be for the pre-show, and we're like, I'm talking about my Christmas shirts, and John's talking about his ugly sweater, and then we realize on this new platform we have to actually hit the record button.
Right.
So we were just talking to ourselves. It was just you and me, John. Boring old you and me.
Yeah, it happens. But the Kevin Smith documentary is really good. Actually, learned stuff that I know.
Oh, cool.
Like, Chasing Amy is pretty much about his relationship with Joey Laurie Adams.
Oh, really? Like he wrote it
they
based
actually
on that?
No, they actually dated.
Wow.
Yeah, like they like Kevin Smith even talked about it. It was a good documentary.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So he's probably pretty prominent in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Along
Who
with,
else is in it?
I mean, Joey Laurie Adams shows up. Stan Lee. They've got stuff from before he died.
Cool.
Brian O'Halloran. I pretty much anyone that was involved in some. I mean, Scott Mosier was one of the big ones because it's the two of them is what really made all the movies.
Is that wait? I don't know who that is.
Scott Mosier was the guy that produced.
Oh, got it.
A lot of the movies that Kevin made while he wrote and directed.
Gotcha. There he is. I'm looking him up now. Nice. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, but evidently he directed the animated Grinch movie, like that just came out.
Oh, cool. Oh, the one that came out like last year or whatever, or
yeah, not too long ago.
The 3D animated, not the cartoon animated.
No, not the old one from the.
Yeah, I remember that one.
60s.
I think it just came out last year. I want to say, or maybe it was 2 years.
A couple
ago,
years ago. Yeah.
Everything pandemic has kind of skewed everything.
But evidently, Kevin Smith also was a co-executive producer of Good Will Hunting.
Oh wow! I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. And evidently, it was because of the work that since Kevin had Ben Affleck in Mallrats, like they were friends and everything, and so they came to Kevin asking for help getting money to do Good Will Hunting. And
since they knew, at that time Ben Affleck and Matt Damon did that. They did that together, producing, right? Or was it just Ben Affleck?
I think it was they wrote it together, and I don't remember all of it.
They probably didn't have the experience of like funding a movie yet, and they knew Kevin Smith did. And that's right, Matt Damon was in. He was in.
They were both in Dogma then.
Dogma, too. Yeah, they were both in Dogma. I gotta watch that movie again. Gosh, I loved that movie when I was a teen.
No,
that was a good one.
Well, and evidently, I feel like I'm spoiling the documentary for you.
That's all right, man.
But evidently, Kevin Smith grew up Catholic. Living in Jersey and went to Catholic elementary school and stuff.
Yeah.
Evidently, he still believed when he wrote that movie.
Wow. So it was almost more of a
he legitimately
like a struggle
he actually wrote it from a sense of faith, and so like when like the Catholic League and everything came after him for it, he's like, no, this isn't making fun of anything.
Yeah, that's funny. But it's so funny because that was really before. I mean, that was before any real like heavy Catholic Church sort of blowback, right? Like from nobody was taking on the Catholic Church at that time. Now it's not crazy to be like, oh, there's a lot of shady stuff that goes,
right.
And so, spoiler alert that God is portrayed by a woman at the end of it, and like that probably upset a lot of people. And I don't know, like just I love it though. That movie was fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, it's a fantastically funny movie.
Yeah, man. Cool. So we're streaming, right? We're on YouTube.
We are on YouTube.
Yours
is something new.
Your video was off for a second. Did you get that notification?
No.
It just said John's video is off because his internet is struggling or something like that. But so I wonder what it looked like on the YouTube. But yeah, we assume that probably no one is watching this right now, at least live. Maybe there
Right.
is.
There are no viewers at the
Yeah,
moment.
we didn't publicize this. We're
No.
just trying it out and figured we'd do it, and we'll probably post it. We'll probably post it on YouTube after. So if somebody wants to go back and watch this, they
I
can.
think it automatically.
It'll just post automatically.
Yeah.
We don't have to use our fingers. It'll the internet does it for us.
Actually, I can unlist the live replay once stream ends. That is
Oh,
an
you
option.
can. Okay. Or you can just leave it as is and it'll
Right.
be up.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Well, nice. By the way, I just bought this. My spam, because that's our episode today. So it's standing by.
I will say, I like it cold. A lot of people don't.
Oh,
A lot of
interesting. Yeah.
people prefer it cooked. So.
Well, we'll talk about it more on when we get on, but like I like didn't even know, like I brought a fork. I didn't even know what to like. I have no idea how to eat spam other than put it in my mouth and chew it. So yeah, this will be an experience. It'll be fun.
It will be.
Okay.
We do have tidy up per oh,
Dylan?
Dylan.
Yeah.
Which I think I appreciate your email that you sent back to him. Although
Yeah.
I think he maybe he misunderstood what I said a little bit about
The guy.
with the Protestant Reformation.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying that's when the Protestant Reformation started.
Yeah. It was funny because I haven't finished yet, but I started listening to the podcast that he sent.
Yeah.
And I was sort of listening to it and I was like, no, I think John did say all this. I don't think you misspread information.
Right. Yeah.
I thought, in fact, because you
we-
even talked about how the first one was very much a deal. You like, you
Yeah.
protect us, bring us food and we'll protect
And
you from this other tribe.
It's not that I didn't know what Dylan already said or what he said, because it is something I'm fully aware of. I feel like if we did a Columbus Day episode, it would have fallen more into that.
Okay.
But something I did see after we recorded was that Thanksgiving is also known as mourning day, like to mourn, to like cry over something to Native Americans, which we did not mention that. I think we could have gone further with it.
Yeah.
But I also kind of left it as hey, this isn't we mentioned the whitewashing and kind of left it up for people to go do their own research on it.
That's what I was gonna cut. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm cutting you off.
But yeah, no, the Protestant Reformation part, I think he just misunderstood what I was saying.
Got it.
Because I said it stems from the Protestant Reformation, and then we gave a couple dates of Thanksgivings that happened first in the U.S.
Yeah, like we admittedly very much skipped a lot. Like in order to cover everything, and but I do think, I do think we did a better job than our elementary schools did. I don't know if that's a good standard to hold ourselves to, but it's like, we didn't mean it to skip. And so I think that's going to be, because I was going to ask how you want to handle the tidy up. And I think that's, I was going to say, like, it's a reminder that, when we're covering potentially sensitive subjects, we need to keep that in mind and know that we're covering the bare minimum. And so a lot of things just get a mention rather than getting dug into. And maybe there are some things that don't deserve, like, shouldn't even be talked about if we're just going to mention it and not dig into it. But I think the bottom line is we're happy to get feedback like that. And, that was sort of what I meant to get across in my email, was just that, it's good that that anyone who hears something that maybe rubs them the wrong way is willing to send us an email and talk about it, So, all right. So do you want to do you want me to let you take the lead on that topic, and then I'll follow up with what I just said?
Yeah, I was trying to think of what to say, and I think I'll say something to the effect of, we appreciate Dylan writing in about, with the things that he provided with the Protestant Reformation starting in the 16th century, and apologize for the fact that I wasn't necessarily clear enough in that I wasn't talking about the start of the Protestant Reformation, but the first Thanksgivings that were.
Got it. Cool. Did you want to? Should we? Let me. I'm gonna look at the email again, just see if it's worth reading a sentence or two from it.
Yeah, and then he said, states that early Thanksgiving was not as mutual as we suggest.
Yeah, that was the part that I disagreed with his email on, because I don't think we were suggesting any mutuality. I guess we were, in the sense that they agreed to
that one tribe was, the Pilgrims were helping a tribe against another tribe. There was some mutual help there.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
We weren't.
Yeah.
Also, where I took that from was from Wikipedia. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I think at the end of the day, that's the really good message that got across from his email is here, and he listed two sources. Here are two really great sources for digging in more, because our podcast is not the source for digging in deeper. And so that, again, that's sort of where it comes back to, if it's something if it's something that's very quote unquote controversial, very sensitive, then is it even worth us touching? Like, I don't want to say limit what we do, but if we're not going to do, we have to have the discussion of, is it better to just not even mention it, or if we're not going to like give it the quote unquote respect that maybe it deserves? And that's for us to decide,
I mean, we're going to have Thanksgiving next year, right?
Yes, it will exist.
Yeah.
It'll be back. It's not going anywhere.
So, I mean, it could be, every Thanksgiving going forward, we delve a little bit deeper into all this.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a series on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, or even yeah.
So, I mean, we can kind of put that out there that, with holiday ones especially, definitely call us out on things, but also know that going forward, we're, if there's a deep subject like that, if it's not covered this year, it might be covered next year.
Yeah. Yeah, and we could, even listening to the podcast that he sent makes me think, like, we could have somebody from a tribe who has something to, this is where,
and you and I both know someone that would probably be able to get someone for us to talk to.
Who I can't think of who you're.
Katie Gray Brown.
Why don't I know that name?
She's the Peace Studies. Ken Brown's daughter.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, she teaches a Native American philosophy class that I took there.
Yeah. So there we go. That might be a great resource.
I mean, her herself could be the one that we talk to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got some good direction, and even the way Dylan said it, it's good to spread better information. Like, I don't think we were spreading like
we
false
didn't spread
information,
any misinformation. We just didn't.
Maybe just didn't do enough.
It was almost a lie of omission, I guess, is one way to put it.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure it was necessarily that either.
No, yeah. And when we do we're talking about it a lot here, but when we do the tidy up, I'll have to control myself a bit too, but like, let's not try to spend a whole bunch of time on it. Right. Not that it doesn't deserve it, but this is where it gets tricky for us as what I would consider sort of a entertainment, fun, educational show. I just use the word educational, but it's not like we have a responsibility for sure, because we have microphones in front of us.
Right.
So there's no doubt about that, but it's where you and I need to this is a good experience for us to figure out where is the line between entertainment and education and
exactly
proper information. So, yeah, good stuff all around. Do we have anything else to tidy up while we're thinking about it? Probably not.
No
new patrons. So. Okay. All right. What do you think? Is there anything else you want to talk about now? And we can talk about more later if we want to, but should we you think we should just jump in?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
All right, cool. I'm trying to think if I asked the first question last week or if you did, if we want to decide that now.
I think I did.
Okay, so I'm asking the first question.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Let's just go
And
for it.
I didn't give you the links.
Oh yeah. Do you have them? Or I guess I can.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the?
Nope, I got it.
Okay, sweet. I had fun doing this quiz. Well, I'll save it for when we get on air. There we go. Let me open both of those. Sweet. Does my camera stay on while I click to other tabs?
Yep.
Just okay, cool. All right, let's just go for it. Let's just jump in and see what happens. And same old deal. I'm just gonna play the intro song. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. John likes tech and lives in Indiana, you know. Kevin likes the Dodgers and talks on the radio. John plays games on Xbox and on his Nintendo, while Kevin runs around LA with his mustachio. It's the Lack of Genius podcast in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast. I think we're kind of going to get into the season with this one, right, John?
Yeah, I think so.
Sort of. And hello, it's good to see you.
Yeah. Do you have a good Thanksgiving?
I worked both my jobs on Thanksgiving, so I didn't even see a single family member, but I saw some coworkers that I love. I had a coworker who accidentally got 2 Thanksgiving plates that he ordered, and he gave me one of his, so I got turkey and cranberry sauce and green beans. So that was really, really nice. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Saw my parents on and grandparents on Thursday, and then we saw Emily's family yesterday. So
cool. Yeah, family seems to be the consistent theme of Thanksgiving, and I've been on the radio a bunch this week because I fill in while the full timers are off, and my thought is the day after Thanksgiving is the day that we can just go crazy with Christmas. And so I've been talking about that on the radio a bunch and taking a lot of phone calls, and people seem to agree universally. I am wearing a Christmas shirt today. We are actually streaming this on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's something we're just starting to do. I don't think anybody's watching this, but if you're listening to this podcast, just know that this coming Sunday you can actually watch our podcast live. I think we'll be around 6 p.m. Pacific time, but we'll get more details on that as we sort of develop. But if you are watching this on a replay or something, I have it's like a snowman shirt. It's like those shirts where it looks like you're wearing a Santa Claus shirt or whatever, but it's a snowman. So he's got a little scarf and he's got little coal buttons. And so what I do every year is I wear a new Christmas shirt every day until Christmas, starting the day after Thanksgiving. So I am in the midst of that. And the reason that I say we're getting into the spirit a little bit is because this is kind of a silly way that these two subjects came about. We're doing the topics of Gremlins and spam.
Yeah.
And I don't think spam has a whole lot to do with Christmas unless you shock me with some questions here.
No, not really.
Gremlins, I fully consider a Christmas movie. It's my favorite Christmas movie. And the odd way that these two got paired together is that I had a friend over and we were watching a football game, and a commercial came on that featured Zach Galligan, who's the lead actor in Gremlins, along with the Mogwai from Gremlins. His name is Gizmo, and it was a Mountain Dew commercial. It was really funny, and it cracks me up. And I look over at my friend, he's only like 21, so he's like a young kid. I'm like, "Do you like the Gremlins?" He's like, "I've actually never seen the Gremlins." And I was like, "What? That's my favorite movie ever. You've never seen Gremlins?" So I was like, "Okay, we got to do an episode on this." And then when I pitched that to you, for some reason or another,
I think this was around when we were doing the now that's what we call music episode.
Yeah, it was around that time.
Yeah, and we were talking, and Say Ferris has a song called Spam, and it's about spam. And I think I brought that up, and you said you had never had spam.
Yes.
So
yeah, you were talking about a specific way that you enjoy spam, which I can't even remember. And I was like, you know what? I've never had spam, and my friend never saw Gremlins, so that's an episode right there. And so here we are. I'm going to quiz you on Gremlins. You're going to quiz me on spam. You have anything to get the people hyped up about spam for?
There's a bunch of different recipes out there. If you don't like spam by itself, there's probably a recipe where you will like it. So.
Okay, and I'll just say that Gremlins is one of my all-time favorite movies. I have plenty that I can get into for sure, and we will. But and I will also tease that I have this is a can, right? It's a tin can, and it says spam on. I have spam with me. I'm going to try spam for the first time at some point during this episode. We'll figure out. Maybe at the end of it, we'll give it a go. But before we get into that, we got to do some tidy up.
Yep.
Hang on, I gotta grab my hard drive because I realize it has my questions and my information on it.
Okay.
Any further with the show? Yeah, I was gonna get into some more Gremlin stuff, but I was like, oh shoot, all my info is on that thing, so I better not misspeak. I'll save it for after.
No, I get that.
Okay. And there is okay. My cheat sheet. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. No, this will actually some of this stuff will actually be better for either during the episode or just when we come back from Tidy Up. Okay, so do you want me to bring us in from Tidy Up or do you want to?
Go ahead.
Okay, here we go. All right, so every week we do this Tidy Up section where we clean up anything from previous episodes or shout people out, do various things. We actually did get an email this week in regards to our Thanksgiving episode.
We did.
Yes, long time listener. We can officially call him because what is this, episode 24 or something like that? And I believe he's listened to every single one, and he revealed himself as the first or maybe the only or the biggest fan from Nebraska. My friend from college and before, really, Dylan. And yeah, he wrote us an email in regards to some of the history stuff we were talking about with Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and Dylan, we appreciate your email. I know Kevin's already emailed you back. I may have misspoke a little bit when talking about the roots of Thanksgiving and how it stems from the Protestant Reformation. Dylan rightfully pointed out that the Protestant Reformation started in the 16th century. And I'm not sure if I misspoke that, but I know that we talked about things that were happening in the 1600s in North America. So there's that. And I think Kevin and I both knew this to an extent. Me maybe a little bit more so in the research that I did for this. And Thanksgiving is a very, or at least it should be a very complicated subject. For Native Americans, it's also seen as a day of mourning because of everything that happened when Europeans came to the shores.
MOURN, mourning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which rightfully so. Our ancestors were not the best of people then.
Yeah.
And so, we apologize if we left that out and didn't talk about that enough. Perhaps we should have. I know going forward on most holidays, Kevin and I talked about this. If there's a subject that we feel is a deep enough subject, we might start covering it on, that episode, but then we're going to keep talking about it in subsequent holiday episodes for that holiday.
Yeah.
So, definitely going forward, next Thanksgiving, we're going to go a little bit deeper in all that. So it's not something that we're trying to hide or anything like that. We just didn't feel that we needed to go that deep on this one, and perhaps we should have. So
yeah, Thanksgiving is a tricky one, and our podcast being, for the most part, we do try to teach something, but the idea is we know nothing, so we try to have fun. And Dylan even points that out in his email. But, we have to remember that we are spreading information. We do have microphones in front of us. People are listening to us. So there is a certain responsibility that comes with that. And thanks. The interesting thing, he sent a podcast, by the way, if you want to listen to it, it's got a lot of really good information regarding Indigenous people. Just look for thanks taking or Thanksgiving. Thanks taking or Thanksgiving. Just do a search for that. I listened about half of it. I'm going to listen to the rest today. And, it taught me a lot. And it also is, it's a reminder that, Thanksgiving is tricky in that, even Native Americans celebrate Thanksgiving, but they don't celebrate it for the things that it stood for. So there's sort of this line between, between looking at the history, but also celebrating with family and taking time to be grateful. But regardless, all I'll say is we appreciate emails like this. This is exactly what the Tidy Up section is for you to call us out on things. So please continue to hold us accountable and keep us diligent. You like that I did that? Diligent. It almost has the word Dylan in it. So thank you, Dylan. All right. So we ready to get into quiz time?
I think so.
All right. Let me remove my dog's pillow from the equation. Because he was chewing it up. Okay, and we said I was going to ask the first question, right?
Yep.
Okay. You want quiz time? You want me to take quiz time? Bring us out.
You're the better one at it.
Okay, I think you do great, but I just want to make sure I'm not hogging it. Okay. Let me wait for my dog to finish licking up his water. Can you hear it?
A little.
It's not that bad, but might as well try to avoid it. Okay, here we go. All right, quiz time has come for Gremlins and Spam. And here's what I'm going to say is Gremlins, I'm so excited about this. And I gave the same kind of preface when I did the ska episode. I feel a certain responsibility to do a good job of this because I'm obsessed with this movie and I love this movie. But again, I'm just kind of a fan. I just watch it every year. So like, I don't, I'm very excited for it. And yeah, man, I think so let's just jump right in. Let's just start with the Gremlins one, and then we'll jump to Spam. So, the very first question: the main character, the lead Mogwai, Gizmo. Who voices Gizmo? Who does the voice of Gizmo in Gremlins? Is it Emilio Estevez, Howie Mandel, Dana Carvey, or Hank Azaria?
I mean, the only one that I know that definitely does voice work is Hank Azaria. And I feel like Dana Carvey has as well because he's very good at doing impersonations and things like that. Howie Mandel, I'm not too sure on if he has or not. I'm just gonna go with Hank Azaria.
Hank Azaria, who's known for his work on The Simpsons, does a lot of characters there and has been on the screen for various movies. You're gonna choose Hank Azaria?
Yep.
That is incorrect.
Oh.
It is Howie Mandel.
Okay.
And I can't even remember what I first knew Howie Mandel from, but he also does. If you ever watch the cartoon Bobby's World, he did the voice of Bobby. And
okay.
For those, and I think he did like the dad's voice, like he just used his regular voice. And I can't even remember if I should have looked this up, but he may have been like a writer or producer on that show as well. It may have been based on him. But it's so funny because Gizmo doesn't talk that much in Gremlins. And in fact, one of my favorite things about the various Gremlins movies, which I should clarify, there are 2 Gremlins movies. This one is only going to be about the first one. Okay. But Howie Mandel does do the voice in the first and second one. One of my favorite thing about the Gremlins movies is the little subtle things that the Mogwais and the Gremlins say. They say these little one-word phrases. And so there's a lot of like I'm trying to think like Billy, who's the main character, who owns Gizmo, will say something like, "Are you having fun?" And he'll say, "Fun." He's like, do you like that? Like. Just little things like that. It's like Mogwai. Every time somebody says this is my Mogwai, he'll say Mogwai. And if you listen closely to that's a pretty decent Gizmo, I gotta say. No, if you listen closely, there is a big comparison, but there is a lot of similarity between Bobby from Bobby's World and a Mogwai if you really listen closely. Okay. I should also say this episode may have spoilers for what happens in the movie Gremlins. I just watched it last night, so things would be fresh in my mind. And I should also do diligence for anyone who's never seen Gremlins, just to say that, because this isn't part of the quiz, I did not put this question in the quiz. It's a Mogwai is a little furry creature. If you're not familiar, they're freaking adorable. Gizmo is one of my all-time favorite characters. And there are 3 rules when you get a Mogwai. You cannot. Do you know them, John?
One of them is don't get them wet.
Don't get them wet.
Don't feed them after what is it, midnight?
Midnight, yes.
And I don't know the third.
Bright lights. They're afraid of bright lights, and bright lights literally hurt them, and the sun will kill them. So those are the 3 rules. And spoiler alert: if you get them wet, they multiply. If they eat after midnight, they turn from furry little creatures into scary little gremlins. And then sun kills them. So there you go. John, if you will allow me to stop my dog from chewing on my blankets, and then I'll be right back. Come on, bro. Drive me crazy here. Drive me crazy. Did you have anything you were going to add to that, by the way?
No.
Okay. All right, John. So there you go. So you missed the first one, 0 for 1, and we're going to get into our first spam question.
Yep. What? You ready?
Yep.
What year was Spam first introduced? 1937, 1942, 1955, or 1969?
Wow. Yeah. See, now, and I'm guessing you'll have some kind of fact on this, or maybe there will be a question on it. But my understanding of Spam is that it's like a meat substitute. And so I would get, no, is it not? It's an actual meat?
Yeah, it's pork, ham, salt, water, potato starch.
Okay, well, see, this is how little I know about Spam. Spam was not part of my culture, like my upbringing, my family growing up. And so I thought for some reason it was like and maybe this part of this is still true, but it was like a cheaper version of meat. It was just like a more affordable version of meat to help families who I have no idea. But
and that's not part of the quiz, but that is something that happened. For some reason it got this. Because it could be, I mean, it's not exactly cheap now, but it was fairly inexpensive back in the day. And it was provided for different reasons that we can talk about here after you answer make your choice.
Okay.
But
well, so why don't I make my choice? I was looking at the first 2, the earlier ones, 1937 or 1942. And my initial thought was, is there some kind of connection to a war? A world war, in fact. Oh man, now I don't know. I was going to choose 1937. I'm changing my mind last minute. I'm going to choose 1942. I'm locking it in.
Incorrect.
Dang. It's 37.
It was, yes. July 5th of 1937, actually.
Oh, it's the day after Independence Day.
And outside of a few Hormel Foods executives, no one actually knows what Spam stands for.
No way, to this day?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a brother of a Hormel company executive came up with the name and won a $100 prize. But
because did Spam exist as a word prior to this?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And so popular belief is that Spam is a contraction of spiced ham.
I don't know why that's funny to me.
Right. But you are right in that there is a deep connection with World War II.
Okay.
It was Spam because it is shelf stable. It doesn't need to be refrigerated. It was an easy way of sending protein, meat, to the front lines, to soldiers during World War II.
Yes.
And so some of the names that they referred to it as: ham that didn't pass its physical, meatloaf without basic training, and special army meat.
That's great.
We're talking over 150 million pounds of Spam was sent or was purchased by the end of World War II.
Wow.
And then, so after World War II, the U.S. helped a lot of other countries that were deeply affected by the war. the UK being one of those. Um, you know, and so that's I think where it started to get that. It was for poor people, and meat substitute and
I
stuff like
see.
that, because it was being provided to people that needed help.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
UK, the Soviet Union, and things like that.
Look at you. You're already tidying up the myths that I had in my head and was spreading to the audience. You're doing a great job. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's like it's it's funny because I'm holding up the can. There's me
Hmm.
banging against. It's like cat food. I mean, but I don't, and I mean that like it's the same way that cat and dog food in a can. It'll stay good forever, right?
Right.
It's like look at this.
Yeah.
It's a little like
I
a little.
mean, to me, it tastes an awful lot like chopped ham. You get that Eckrich sliced chopped ham. That it's very similar in flavor to me.
Man, you did a great job. I'm looking at the ingredients: pork with ham, salt, water, modified potato starch, sugar, sodium nitrite. You were right on with that. Sorry, I hope that wasn't a question, but you already said
Nope.
it. All right, well, you're 0 for 1. This stuff fueled the troops. That's amazing. It
Hmm.
fueled the troops. We're both 0 for 1 to start. You ready for number 2, the Gremlins?
Yep.
It's funny because this question isn't in there, but there is sort of a military tie-in to Gremlins because Gremlins were rumored, I forget in which war, but like to be on planes and were
Hmm.
rumored to like be destroying plane parts. And so one of the characters in Gremlins is a war vet, and he's the one who coins them as Gremlins because he was afraid of them prior to them even
Right.
showing up because he
Yeah.
had some PTSD
Yeah.
or whatever.
And I think that was World War II.
Probably
Well,
World War II. That
yeah.
would make sense, especially since the movie takes place in the 80s,
Yeah.
1984. All right, true or false? Gremlins is rated PG-13. True or false?
I'm gonna go with false, and that's mainly because I feel like you tried to trick me with this, and I know that the rating systems in the '80s was a lot looser on things
Mm-hmm.
than they are now. So
So you're
I'm
locking
going
in
with false.
PG-13? Or you're
I'm
locking in false, I mean?
Yep.
That is correct. Well done. Yes. I would say that in today's standards, yeah, PG-13 is probably a good rating for Gremlins. It is
Hmm.
rated PG, however, and that is because when it came out, PG-13 did not exist. In fact,
I almost said that, but I wasn't sure
yep,
enough to say it.
it along with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which also
Hmm.
came out that year, were both heavily criticized. There was a lot of violent sequences, and parents were not happy that they were bringing their kids, especially because Gremlins had 2 trailers. One was sort of a scarier one, and one
Hmm.
was, look at how cute this little Mogwai is. Oh, children, friends, family, come watch this movie of this cute little Mogwai. And then all of a sudden, I mean, these Mogwais get pretty violent, and there's
Right.
there's some pretty gory scenes. I mean, they're not. Yeah, they're kind of over the top. You don't see too much human gore. You see some gremlin gore that we'll get into later. But yeah, so Steven Spielberg was the executive producer on Gremlins, and he was the one who suggested to the Motion Pictures Association of America that to alter its rating system, and they created a new PG-13 rating. And it was interesting because I thought maybe Gremlins would have its rating changed as a result, but they don't. They keep it
Right.
PG. Um, but yeah, that was pretty fascinating. And fun fact that I it's so obvious now, but Steven Spielberg has a cameo in Gremlins. There's a scene where Billy's dad, who's an inventor, is at this invention convention, and there's all these robots going around, and you see this guy go across this screen on this like futuristic looking bike riding it. It's
Hmm.
Steven Spielberg going right in front of the camera, this young Steven Spielberg, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's right there. So I thought that was pretty fun. But yeah, PG-13 is false. It is rated PG. Gremlins.
Okay. You ready for question 2?
Yep. Yep. You're 1 for 2. Gonna try to tie you
Yep.
here.
What state has the highest consumption per capita? Minnesota, California, Hawaii, or Florida?
So Hawaii seems like Hawaii jumps right out to me. Spam is something that when I think of spam, I think of Hawaii, and I realize at this moment I have no idea why that is. And I'm wondering if it's telling me that I should not overthink this and just pick Hawaii, and because for whatever reason it's very popular in Hawaii. Um, California consumes a lot, but it's also got a huge population, so it would be hard to imagine California being the highest per capita. Hawaii isn't as densely populated, so and then there's Minnesota, which isn't densely populated. Florida. I'm just going to choose Hawaii and see what happens. I'm locking it in.
Correct.
Yes.
And this actually stems from World War II.
I wonder.
Yeah. So because, the U.S. Army was eating so much spam and then we were providing it to allies and stuff afterwards, a lot of the Pacific Islands, Hawaii, Guam, and Japan and so on, they started incorporating spam pretty heavily, especially in Hawaii, into their diets and everything.
Wow.
Like to the point to where McDonald's and Burger King have spam options on their menus there.
To this day?
To this
Oh,
day.
wow. In Hawaii specifically.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So now it sounds like it in a lot of ways there was sort of this unintended reasoning behind a lot of spam being there, but I would guess that spam has become such a part of the common I don't know if culture is the right word, but at least
it seems to work very well with Asian inspired foods.
Got it.
One of the big ones is spam musubi, which is basically just a thing of rice with a slice of spam on top and then wrapped with nori.
What is nori? Is that like seaweed?
The seaweed, yeah.
Okay, got it.
So it's like a strip of it to hold it all together.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that sounds. I'm not a big seaweed or seafood guy, but that actually sounds kind of good.
But Puerto Rico also does a lot of spam. In fact, there's where is it? There's a specific sandwich that I learned about that I really want to try. It's called Sandwich de Mezcla, and I could probably be butchering that pronunciation.
It's close enough.
But basically, it's a pimento cheese sandwich with spam added into it.
Oh, that sounds super good.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, like you blend it all together, so it's like just a super smooth, paste like a good pimento cheese sandwich is. And evidently that's a big one it's a main party staple.
Wow.
In Puerto Rico.
Nice. Ooh, I'll have to try that. Yeah, because it's interesting because I'm gonna try this here in a little bit, and I'm literally I was telling John beforehand, like I didn't even know what to prepare for. Like I brought a fork, and I didn't even know if that's how you eat spam. Like all I know is you put it in your mouth and you chew it. But I'm just gonna eat it whatever raw right out of the can today. Just eat a bite or two. But like I'm trying. Like I have eggs in my fridge that I eat for breakfast. I could probably just scramble it up with my eggs and. Spam and eggs. That's a thing, right?
It is. Yes. Yeah. Spam and macaroni and cheese.
Do I get a point for that? Spam and eggs?
Yeah. I mean, you can just slice it, eat it cold on a sandwich like you would, deli ham, or you can fry it up. You can, chop it into little cubes, and kind of like diced ham and fry it and, use it as sprinkles on top of mac and cheese. I've tried a recipe where you slice it up, you coat it in Frank's buffalo hot sauce, and then you take crushed crackers and you bread it in that, and then you fry it.
Oh my gosh, John!
Yeah,
I should have eaten lunch before I hopped on here, man. I'm hungry.
But no, I mean you can use it just like ham.
Yeah,
well, it's yeah.
Well, I'm learning that aside from just the, it keeps for a while in the can, it's also an extremely versatile meat. You can do a lot of, it's not, sure, technically you could do anything with a little slice of deli ham, but it pretty much you're going to put it on a sandwich and that's it. This you can get creative and do a lot with.
Yeah, exactly.
Versatile meat. I like it. All right. Well, I just tied you up. We're 1 for 2 to start. Good start. Here's number 3 for the Gremlins. The majority, this is a spoiler alert, by the way. So if you are going to watch the movie, this is kind of a big moment in it. The majority of the Gremlins are eliminated by being blown up in a movie theater. What movie are they watching? Is it Pinocchio, Cinderella, Dumbo, or Snow White and the Seven Dwarves?
I have no idea.
I was like, okay, he either knows this and he's going to shoot it off right off the bat, or he has no idea. Do you remember this scene at all?
I've never seen the movie.
Oh my gosh. I meant to ask that at the beginning. Okay, so this makes this even better. I'm so sorry that I just spoiled this for you.
No, I don't care.
You have to watch this movie.
It is an old enough movie to where it doesn't matter.
There's going to be more spoilers.
It's fine. It's okay. I mean, if it was a brand new movie that came out last week, that's one thing. But this movie's
Yeah.
been out for 30 some years.
I
It's
think oh, you don't like horror movies either.
yeah.
This is the interesting thing about, and we'll get back to this question here, but the interesting thing about Gremlins is it was originally planned to be sort of a straight up horror movie,
Hmm.
but they realized that it had more appeal because, especially because of the cuteness of the main character, a Gizmo, that it
Hmm.
had an appeal being sort of a horror comedy, and was one of the early ones to do it. Where it's sort of they realized audience liked this mix of. Okay, you're horrified one moment, but then you're happy and cheery the next. But by horror movie standards, this is not a scary movie. I think you'd actually really enjoy it, John.
Okay.
But yeah, so they're all in a movie theater and they're either watching Pinocchio, Cinderella, Dumbo, or Snow White, which you just got to take a stab in the dark, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna go with Pinocchio.
Okay, Pinocchio, you gonna lock it in?
Yep.
That's incorrect.
Uh,
They are watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, and it's pretty hilarious because they're all singing "Hi Ho." They're "Hi Ho, Hi Ho," but they're like more evil. And this is kind of one of the points that I was making: is there's a theater full of gremlins, and
mhm.
they're all dressed up. The funny thing about gremlins is they'll inexplicably have like clothing or glasses or like nobody knows where they got them from or how they fit their little tiny bodies. But they're all in the theater and they're singing and they're eating popcorn. And then they cut to outside of the theater where Billy, the main character, and his girlfriend Kate have little Gizmo, and even Gizmo as he's going. It's so freaking cute. Like he's just a happy-go-lucky little musical mogwai. Yeah, man. Oh my gosh, I love that actually that you haven't seen this movie, and now I'm excited because I really want you to watch it. Even though I still have to watch Dune, so until I watch Dune, you're not probably not going to watch Gremlins, but. Okay, John. So 1 for 3 for you. We're ready for number
Yep.
3 on spam.
Hmm.
Let's go for it.
And I forget what you're at. Is it 2 for
I am
3
one
or
for
1 for 2?
two to start. Yeah.
Okay. Which British prime minister referred to it as a wartime delicacy? Tony Blair,
Mm-hmm.
Boris Johnson,
Mm,
Winston Churchill,
okay.
or Margaret Thatcher?
Wow. Um. So we've been talking about World War II,
Hmm.
and so that, assuming my history is correct, that makes me think of Winston Churchill. Um. Tony Blair was. Tony Blair feels a little too recent. Um, Margaret Thatcher. Like the thing is, this could have been referred to as a wartime delicacy, like in the 80s or 90s, referring to like, yeah, this is such a wartime delicacy. But I'm gonna lean, I'm gonna lean into Winston Churchill and say that he was the one who said it.
Incorrect.
Oh man, you got me.
It was Margaret Thatcher.
It was. Oh, that was my second choice. What was she talking? And when was she? Was she prime minister in the 90s, 80, late 80s,
Uh,
90s?
I'm
Sorry
going
to
to
throw.
double check that. So, I
Yeah.
mean, Tony Blair was started prime minister in '97 and was until 2007, I think.
Okay.
And then,
79 to 90, it looks like
yeah,
for.
yeah, Margaret Thatcher.
Okay.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, yeah. She lived through World War II. It looks like she was born in 1925.
Okay.
Um, only died 8 years ago.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
What a life. What a long
Um,
life.
if you watch The Crown on Netflix at all, she's played by Karen Gillian, who
Oh,
does a
yes.
fantastic job
I
as
know her
Margaret
as
Thatcher.
from the Marvel movies
Or
as
not
what's her
Karen Gillian.
Nebula. Okay. So it's the wrong
No,
person.
it's she was from X Files.
Oh, yes, not Karen Gillian, but Gillian Anderson.
Yes, there we go.
Gillian Anderson. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
the
Took her
wrong
last
Gillian.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
Anyways, yeah, she plays Margaret Thatcher and does a fantastic job as it. Um, but yeah, she referred to it as a wartime delicacy because she grew up during the war. Um, I did throw Churchill in there as a, because he was prime minister during the war.
It worked.
Yeah, I mean, and Tony Blair and Boris Johnson are both old enough. I know Tony Blair was born in the 50s, I believe, and Boris Johnson, I don't know how old he is, but he's up there.
Yeah.
So even if they weren't necessarily alive during World War II, their parents were, and so you know, they could have heard stories and stuff. So
Gotcha. Yeah, and that did get me. That's why I was unsure. But hey, that's a great question. I love Margaret Thatcher. I don't even know that much about her. I think just the fact that she was a leader of a huge nation as a woman in the 80s is just like,
yes,
it's
but
just so awesome.
once you learn about her policies and stuff, you may not like her so much.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Well, at least she broke the glass ceiling early in Britain and opened the door for a lot of women, I'm sure. Hopefully, I don't know. I literally have no idea what I'm talking about. So. All right. So yeah, I missed that one, which we're both 1 for 3 then, right?
Yep.
Cool. All right, number 4 is a visual one, which I do love doing these visual questions. I'm realizing more and more that as a podcast, it's a little bit difficult, but you can go to lackofgenius.com and look at the Gremlins quiz to see these choices. And the question is, which of these Gizmo toys does Kevin not own? So there are 4 pictures. I own 3 of these things. One I do not. The first one is Dancing Gizmo, and he's got a little Santa hat on. He's like a little plush Gizmo with a Santa hat. Number 2 is Gizmo Chia Pet, which I'm sure you can envision yourself. Number 3 is Face Changing Gizmo, and there's a picture of a little Gizmo figurine with 3 different faces and some props that you can swap his face out on. And number 4 is Gizmo Magnet, and it's a little face of Gizmo stitched together, and it's a magnet. So which of these do I not own, John?
I'm guessing the Chia Pet.
Chia Pet? Any reason? You gonna lock it in? You have any reasoning behind it? Or you're just gonna go for it?
I'm just going for it.
Okay, Chia Pet is correct. I do not own it. Nice job. It was. I actually had a lot of fun. I took these 3 pictures yesterday, and then I had to search the internet for some kind of Gizmo toy. But the thing is, every Gizmo toy picture that I could find was like a professional picture. So this was one of the few that I could find. I would love a Gizmo Chia Pet, even though Chia Pets are kind of gross. They get all grody and nasty after a while. But, yeah. So God, I'm like a little kid. I can't get enough Gizmo things. All 3 of these things were gifts. I didn't buy any of them for myself. I'll start with the dancing Gizmo because that is, before this episode started, that is what I had to move. If you're on the stream or John, you're watching this, I now have the Gizmo out so you can see him. The Santa hat I added on myself, but there's a little switch on the bottom. The dancing is now broken, but I will play what he's also sings the Gizmo song. So without further ado, here you go. That's the Gizmo song, which, fun fact about that, is in the movie that is not sung by Howie Mandel. It's sung by like a little girl or something. But that's the Gizmo song that he sings on his own, and it's so freaking cute. My sister and brother-in-law at the time got that for me. The other one is it's a cool little Gizmo I don't have in front of me, but you can change his face. My brother got that for me last year. And the third is a homemade magnet that a friend made, and it was given as a gift. Now, merchandising was huge when Gremlins came out, so they made all kinds of merchandise. But what I loved is that starting in the 2000s, some companies, including the National Entertainment Collectibles Association, known as NECA, I don't know if they go by NECA, they started producing all new Gremlins toys and collectibles. And then in 2017, they began producing official Gremlins life-size puppets. And what's hilarious about learning this is that I looked at the dancing Gizmo and I looked at the mask Gizmo, and they're both made by NECA, NECA. So I was like, oh, okay, I got one of those toys. But yeah, so if anyone's looking to just give me gifts because they like me, you're not going to go wrong with anything Gizmo or Mogwai related.
I'm surprised that they haven't teamed up with the company that made Furbies.
Yes, they look so much alike.
Right.
In fact, I should have thought about this, because when Furbies came out, I think there may have been a lawsuit, or at least in popular culture, people were like, these are just ripoffs of Mogwais. Right. But I think there was enough difference that there was no. But yeah, that would have been a good pair up.
Okay.
So there's my Mogwai toys. You got that right. You're 2 for 4. I'm 1 for 3. So I'm going to try to catch up with you and tie you here on question 4 about spam.
Okay.
Ooh.
True or false?
I'm laughing before I even hear the question. I'm reading it. That's why.
Hormel has released a pumpkin spiced flavor of Spam.
True or false? I
True or
mean, like,
false?
I'm not even. I'm just gonna choose true because A, I hope it's true, and B, this sounds too silly that I feel like you just wanted to get this in the quiz, so you made it a true or false question. I'm choosing true.
It's true.
Yes, yes. I'm not celebrating myself. I'm celebrating that this exists.
It came out in September of.
2019.
Yep.
Okay. Wow. Have you had it?
I have not.
For someone who has never tried spam, I have to say, I don't know how appealing that sounds.
Right. I mean, outside of pumpkin pie,
Uh-huh.
I'm not a big pumpkin spice
Yeah,
fan.
got it.
Like, pumpkin spice latte, yeah, yeah, not
Yep,
a big fan of them.
got it.
So,
Well,
y-
I think that I am, but meat meat and pumpkin spice I don't think go together. There are some things that just
right,
don't go together in my
yeah.
opinion. So, um wow, that's great. But I am going to try it now because I have to. I just have to.
Mhm.
Okay, wow, look at us go. We're heading into question 5,
Yeah,
right? And we're both 2 for 4.
we are.
Wow, this isn't, and we tied last week for the first
Mhm.
time in forever. I don't know if we're gonna tie this week, but this is we haven't had very close matchups for a long time until last week, so this is very
Right.
exciting again. Here we go, number 5. Again, this is now something that you're not gonna know. I was basing this off of let's see if he remembers. But which of the following is not one of the ways a gremlin is killed in the movie? So we do see gremlins get killed, including I already spoiled the blowing up the theater, which is not one of the ways a gremlins is killed. A, blown up in a microwave. B, decapitated by a sword. C, put in a blender. Or D, electrocuted by Christmas lights.
Though I have not seen the movie, it's one of those things that it gets used. If it's a popular movie or something, other shows and stuff might use clips, or get talked about. I vaguely, for some reason, have a picture of being electrocuted by Christmas lights in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as for the rest, I don't know. I feel like decapitating with a sword would be very difficult. So that's the one I'm going to go with.
You're choosing decapitated by a sword. You're locking it in.
Yep.
That is incorrect.
Uh,
So it actually was electrocuted by Christmas lights is the one that did not happen. Now you may have seen there are many scenes of gremlins playing with electrical cords. There's one where
mhm.
one is hanging on Christmas lights, and Corey Feldman cuts. Corey Feldman is in this movie, by the way. Cuts
Right.
the Christmas lights to get rid of them, but none of them are actually killed by that. And in fact, there is a scene where Billy's dog is strung up by Christmas lights that the little evil Mogwais did to him.
Ah.
Um, so that is the correct answer. So there is a gremlin that gets blown up in a microwave, and it's kind of like ridiculously like gooey and gross.
Mhm.
One does get put into a blender, and that's pretty exciting. And then the third, I had actually forgotten about the decapitated by a sword. Every time somebody walks into the main character's house, there's these two swords that are crossing, hanging on the wall, and one of them always falls. And I didn't notice until this last time that like, oh, they're calling our attention to those swords early in the movie because Billy ends up, spoiler alert, running in to rescue his mom who's being attacked by a gremlin, slices off its head, and its head flies into the fireplace, and then you just see this burning gremlin head that's screaming, and it's just so fantastic. Now, I was going to get into this earlier, but I saved it for now that
Mhm.
um, the original version of the film, the original draft was way darker and way darker and way more horrifying. So,
Right.
these are things that did not happen in Gremlins, but were planned. Billy's mother was supposed to die in her struggle with the Gremlin. So instead of Billy coming in and decapitating the Gremlin, she was supposed to get decapitated by Gremlins, and they were going to throw her head down the stairs when Billy got home. So that would have been pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
There was going to be a scene of the Gremlins eating Billy's dog, which would have been a nightmare. There was
Mhm.
supposed to be a scene where the Gremlins were in McDonald's eating customers instead of burgers, and then the last one was that Gizmo was originally supposed to become like the evil head gremlin,
Hmm.
and Steven Spielberg was one of the ones who was very like, look, not Gizmo is too cute and too likable of a character, and people are going to want to root for him. So
Mhm.
we A, can't have him turn into the bad guy, and B, all this other like horrifying stuff. It's too much. We need to tame this down. And so I, for one, am glad they didn't, because it would have been a completely different movie. It would have
Right.
been, it probably would have been a good horror movie, but it wouldn't have had the sort of more mass appeal. And
Right.
the one big fact that I forgot to leave out is that this movie takes place around Christmas time, and all of the action happens on Christmas Eve, which is why I consider it a Christmas
Yeah.
movie. There's lots of talk about Christmas. There's Christmas decorations everywhere, so it's why I like to watch it
Mhm.
every year. It gets me in the spirit.
I get that.
Okay, John. So you finished 2 for 5.
Yep.
I'm 2 for 4.
Mhm.
Stepping into number 5 on spam. And if I get it, I win.
Yep.
If I miss it, we tie.
We do.
All right, let's do it.
So, what comedy group made Spam popular? The Whitest Kids You Know, The Kids in the Hall, Monty Python, or Blue Collar Comedy?
I'm pretty sure I know this one. And it took me a minute because I was like, I can't remember why I know this, but I believe it was Spamalot, which I don't know if that's the name of the movie, or even if it is a movie. I just know that I've seen that, and I know that it's affiliated with Monty Python. So I'm gonna lock in Monty Python.
Correct. But it's not because of Spamalot.
It's not because of Spamalot.
But Spamalot is a fantastic musical. If you ever get the chance to go see it,
Okay.
go see it.
Okay.
Back in I think it was in the either 60s or 70s when Monty Python had their TV show on in the UK. There's a specific skit where they're kind of making fun about how ubiquitous spam was.
Uh-huh.
There's a couple customers sitting in a diner, and the waitress comes up and starts reading off the menu, and it's like, spam and eggs, spam and eggs, spam
Yes.
beans, spam and eggs.
I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I've either seen a clip of it or I've seen the sketch itself. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and then I think the movie that you're thinking of is the Monty Python and the Holy Grail,
Uh-huh.
where spam is mentioned in one of like they have like a song, one or two songs in there.
Oh, so Spamalot isn't Monty Python at all. I
No,
was wrong on
no, it
that.
is, it
Oh, it
is.
is. Okay, okay.
But Spamalot is based off of the Monty Python and the Holy Grail. The music and stuff is written by Eric Idle, which is one of the main members of Monty Python.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, and we may have talked about this a little bit in the past, with on a previous episode where I was able to go see Spamalot in London,
Oh,
and they
yes.
actually sold spam sandwiches during the intermission.
Am I confusing this, or was this the one where the actress
No, yeah, it's the same.
from Ted Lasso? I
Mhm.
can't think of her character's name. She's the owner of the team, but she
Right.
was in that musical, and this was what, like 15 years ago or more.
2007.
Okay, so yeah, about almost
Yeah.
15 years. Yeah. Oh, that's great. And you got spam sandwiches.
Yeah. So,
All right. Well,
so you won.
dude, John, I'm opening this can of spam, and as I'm doing it, I just want to say, listen, that's the can opening. You did a great job with this quiz, and you do a great job on all the quizzes. I really enjoyed that one for some reason. I don't know, that was very informative. I had a blast. I'm smelling the spam, and it's
It's just like ham.
yeah, it
really,
smells like ham.
a saltier ham.
This is literally the first time I've seen spam this up close. I literally just have a fork full of it. I'm just gonna eat it. Here we go. It tastes like salty meat.
Yeah.
It tastes like salty meat. Now,
Mhm.
you told me you like to eat it cold, but not everybody does. This one is room temperature.
I think the thing that really gets people is the gel that forms.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just because they mix all the ingredients together. They put it in the can, seal it, and then it basically gets cooked in the can. And so that's why that gel forms, is because
Gotcha.
it's the gelatin and stuff in the meat that renders out when it gets cooked. And
That makes sense. Yeah, I gotta say it's very salty, which now correct me if I'm wrong, but like I'm sure there are people who do this, but most people probably just don't do what I just did and just
No.
eat spam right out of the can. And I will not do that ever again. I did not hate it, but it was not an enjoyable experience for me.
Yeah, I mean, uncooked spam is best on like a sandwich or
Yeah,
something like that.
that's what I figured. And like,
Um,
I can, when you were describing the Frank's Red, the like hot
mhm.
sauce would be good with this. I'm picturing an egg scramble with some hot sauce, and
Yeah,
this
I
being
mean,
freaking
s-
fantastic.
soy sauce is really good with it.
Oh yes, I could
Um,
taste that.
I mean,
Yes.
I've sliced it up before and then just put it in a pan and poured put soy sauce on top of it and fried it that way. Um, so
That dude, well, you may have opened up a whole new world for me because I am gonna make sure I use the rest of this can on something delicious. In fact, you know what I don't think I have tortillas. I was gonna say maybe I'll make like egg and spam burritos tonight.
yeah,
I still might go out and get my ingredients. Well, it was fun trying that spam with you, and
good.
I ended up winning this episode, which
You did.
I think now I have 11 wins, you have 10, we have 3 ties, I believe.
Hmm.
That may need to be tidied up. We are we're not sure about next week. We're going to be here, but we're working that out. We had to move this episode up by a week, so
Yeah.
we have some things in the works. We always have something in the works. We just don't want to promote
Oh yeah.
something and then do something completely different. Um, but John, man, yeah, thanks for educating me on the world of spam, and let me know if you do watch Gremlins
Hmm.
and what you think. God, I could talk about Gremlins all day. By the way, I know we have to wrap up this episode. I have one more fun fact that cracked
Yeah.
me up that I couldn't find a place to get into the quiz. But here's one of my favorite things about not just Gremlins but movies from the '80s is
Hmm.
that there was no CGI. So when you're looking at like, there's a scene where there's a gremlin riding a skateboard, and you know what, John? It's a gremlin riding a skateboard. It's not something somebody made on a computer, which is an amazing
Right.
skill. Don't get me wrong, but I just love being able to physically see these
Hmm.
things. And there's a scene where chicken all up close. And what's funny about that is it's literally like a close up shot of just their face. They had to make like giant versions of their faces to film that scene. But so they used a lot of puppetry. There's
Right.
even a scene where you can straight up see like the little like pole for the
Hmm.
arm, some things like that exist, and that's just the way
Yeah.
it was. But they were experimenting. They tried putting a gremlin head on a monkey and having actual monkeys, but the test monkey panicked, and so they scrapped that idea pretty quickly. But oh my gosh, if there are 2 things that I could have in this world that would make me happy, one would be an actual mogwai, like a real
Hmm.
life one. I don't think that's going to happen, but if someday I see a monkey in a mogwai and or gremlin suit, I'm going to die happy. I'll just leave it at that. And with that, you have anything else you wanted to add? I think that's a good note to go out on.
No, I don't think so. I don't think I can top that.
Not gonna top that. Well, here's hoping we run into a mogwai monkey. And John, always great to be on here with you, man.
Yeah. You too.
All right, we'll catch you all next week.
See ya.
Yeah, that felt like a good episode. That was fun.